Welcome to the deep dive. You know how it is, the NBA season wraps, and bam, everyone's already looking ahead, figuring out next year's landscape, and the big one, the player rankings.
Exactly. And we know you don't have time to sift through every single prediction out there.
So we're doing the work for you. We're diving into the first batch from Hoopstock, their NBA Top 200 of the 2024-25 NBA season.
Yep, credit to Hoopstock for tackling this beast. Today, we're focusing just on that initial release, numbers 200 down to 175.
Our mission, basically, is to pull out the key stuff, the surprising picks, the debatable ones, and just give you a quick handle on how Hoopstock sees this slice of the league.
It's your shortcut to getting informed on these early rankings.
Okay, let's get into it. Hoopstock does say up front, this is subjective, it takes a ton of time, and hey, it's just their take.
Which is fair. Ranking 200 players, yeah, subjectivity is baked in. But even in this first group, 200 to 175, there are definitely some interesting names and placements to talk about.
Right. What kind of jumps out even here at the, let's say, bottom end of the top 200 is how specialized some of these guys are.
Totally. It shows how teams build rosters, finding guys with one elite skill, even if they have weaknesses elsewhere. The league's deep.
Okay, let's plunge right in. Number 200, TJ McConnell. Hoopstock loves his on-ball defense for the Pacers.
Yeah, they mentioned him being valuable against top point guards, like in those Knicks or Bucks matchups in the playoffs. That defense is legit, no doubt.
It really is. But then you hit the flip side. How valuable is a defensive specialist backup guard who, well, can't really shoot?
Exactly. His three-point percentage is, what, under 32%? That clogs things up, especially for guys like Obi Toppin who need space to operate.
So does the defense outweigh that offensive limitation? That's the debate at 200.
Okay, number 199, Terry Rozier. The narrative here is disappointing season.
Yeah, Hoopstock points to struggles basically everywhere. Scoring, playmaking, and his shooting was rough. 30.1% from the field. Oof.
That's his worst since he was a rookie. And they mention age. He's 30. Is that decline talk a bit early, or?
Well, 30 isn't ancient, but for a guard who relies on some athleticism, maybe. Is the ranking fair, or is it jumping the gun on a downward trend?
It's tough. If that athleticism dips even a bit and the shot isn't falling to compensate, yeah, it could be a worrying sign. Offensive consistency from guards is just so crucial now.
Okay, next, 198. Julian Champagnie with the Spurs. Different story here. He got minutes because of injuries, right?
Yeah, Vassell was out, but Champagnie kept shooting well off the bench even after, hitting over 36% from three on decent volume.
And the Spurs desperately need shooting. So is 198 maybe a little low for a guy providing that specific valuable skill?
That's a good question. Floor spacing is gold, but Hoopstock also mentions inconsistency elsewhere. Cutting ability, defensive flashes, but not always there.
So it's the classic trade-off. Great shooting, but maybe not the full package yet.
Kind of seems like it. Balancing that one big skill against overall reliability. That's the challenge with role players sometimes.
Makes sense. All right, 197. Lonzo Ball, back after that really long layoff.
Yeah. Hoopstock gives him credit. Facilitator, still a good defender. Maybe not peak Lonzo, but solid.
But the offense, that's the big asterisk, isn't it? Scoring way down. And the three-point shot dropped from like 42% in 2022 to mid-30s now.
Yeah, around 34.4%. That's a significant dip. So how do you weigh the playmaking and defense against that lack of scoring threat?
Especially if teams can just sag off him now. Tough evaluation after a major injury. The ranking feels like it reflects that uncertainty, maybe?
I think so. Can he get that shot back? Or is this the new offensive reality? Huge question mark.
Okay, 196, Moritz Wagner, Orlando Magic. Led their centers in scoring. That's kind of surprising.
And in games he played, yeah. Shows his offensive versatility compared to their other bigs, but the defense is the issue.
Right. Hoopstock calls him a liability there. Even mentions Orlando might need to draft a center like Malak.
So does the scoring punch in limited minutes make up for the defensive holes, especially in this range of the list?
It's that constant push-pull, offense versus defense. If he gets targeted relentlessly on D, does the offense even matter as much?
Yeah, maybe not in crunch time or the playoffs. The ranking probably reflects that defensive concern heavily.
All right, let's shift gears slightly, kind of the middle of this pack. Number 195, Gary Trent Jr.
The expectation was he'd be a key shooter for the Bucks, but Taurean Prince ended up grabbing that role.
Trent shoots it well, though. Around 41% from three is solid. But Hoopstock says lack of aggressiveness, questionable decisions.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe he's not quite fitting in or maximizing his skill set there. You can shoot 41%, but if you're hesitant or making bad reads.
The impact just isn't there. So is he underutilized, or does the ranking fit because of those other factors?
Could be a bit of both. Maybe the fit isn't perfect, or maybe those decision-making critiques are spot on, hard to say from the outside.
Right behind him, 194, Tim Hardaway Jr., now with the Pistons, starting, known scorer.
Three-level scorer, yeah. But the defense, that's always been the knock on him, hasn't it?
Pretty much. So for a veteran starter, how much bad defense can you live with for that offensive firepower?
It's the eternal question. Some teams will take that trade-off, others won't. Depends on the system, the personnel around him.
But 194 suggests Hoopstock thinks the defensive issues are pretty significant.
Seems that way. Too much of a liability to be ranked higher, maybe.
Okay, a rookie next. Dalton Knecht at 193. Impressive shooter, right? 37% from deep, tough shots.
Yeah, the shooting looks real, but Hoopstock mentions that weird trade situation that got canceled involving Mark Williams, and then his minutes dropped.
Huh. So is his potential being kind of masked or undervalued because of those recent circumstances?
Could be. It's tough with rookies when their role is bouncing around. The ranking might just be cautious, acknowledging the talent, but seeing the unstable situation.
Makes sense. Jonas Valanciunas, 192. Traded to the Kings, valuable backup center now.
And Hoopstock highlights those little things he does well, sealing guys, hitting the boards hard, even in fewer minutes.
So for a vet adjusting to that bench role, 192 feels about right.
Yeah.
So still productive, just less volume.
Yeah, seems fair. He's contributing effectively in that specific role. Respect for the continued production.
Now, Scottie Pippen Jr. at 191. This one sounds like it pained the author a bit.
Yeah, they say it hurts me a little, ranking him this low. Praised his playmaking, defense, scoring flashes for Memphis, compared him to like 2017 Patty Mills.
Wow. So why so low then? Just lack of opportunity.
Seems to be the main reason. Not enough consistent minutes. Sounds like a guy Hoopstock thinks could pop if he got more run. A potential hidden gem.
Definitely one to watch, maybe. Okay, 190 Yusuf Nurkic. Also sounds like his season was kind of derailed by circumstance. That canceled Hornets trade.
Yeah, impacted his role there. Described as a down year, but, still rebounding. Still offers some floor spacing for a big guy, even if it's only 30% from three.
So is the ranking mostly about that weird situation or his actual performance?
Probably a mix. When a player's role changes unexpectedly, it's hard to isolate just their performance. The ranking likely tries to balance the stats with that context.
Buddy Hield, 189. Started hot with the Warriors, scoring, shooting great, then fell off.
Big time. Both scoring and shooting dropped, and apparently just didn't seem like a great fit, especially next to Steph Curry.
That's surprising. You'd think a shooter like Hield would thrive next to Steph's gravity.
You would think. Maybe it was the system, the off-ball movement, the chemistry. Something just didn't click consistently. The ranking reflects that disappointment, I guess.
Taurean Prince, 188. We mentioned him taking Trent Jr.'s spot. Key shooter for the Bucks.
And how? Shooting almost 44% from three. That's elite spacing, especially when Lillard was out. Earned those starting minutes.
But he's mostly catch and shoot, right? Not creating much else.
Pretty much. But on a team with Giannis and Dame creating so much attention, maybe that elite catch-and-shoot skill is exactly what they need. It's super valuable in that context.
Okay, then Sam Hauser at 187. Compared directly to Prince. Similar strengths, shooting, some defense.
But Hoopstock gives Hauser the slight edge. Why? His aggressiveness to seek for his shot and being key to Boston's three-point records.
So it's that mindset difference, being more proactive offensively.
Seems like it. That little bit of extra assertiveness, maybe looking for a shot more actively, could justify that tiny bump in the ranking, makes him a bit more dynamic.
Interesting nuance. All right, Pelicans rookie Yves Missy at 186. A bright spot, apparently.
Yeah, sounds promising. Athletic compared to a young DeAndre Ayton. Offensive rebounding, blocks, potential as a role man.
Okay, that sounds like high upside. Needs to get stronger, though.
That's the note. But based on that description, athlete, rebounder, shot blocker, finisher, yet he might have the highest ceiling of anyone in this 175-200 group.
Definitely sounds like a project worth tracking. Okay, Trey Jones at 185. This is a weird one. Unaggressive, poor shooter with the Spurs.
But then goes to the Bulls and starts scoring more, assisting more, and hitting threes. 50% from three, even on low volume.
Yeah. Drive and kick is good, but the Bulls don't have great shooters around them. So which Trey Jones is real?
Huh. Good question. Shows how much situation matters. Maybe the Bulls just unlock something in him. The ranking probably splits the difference, acknowledging the recent improvement, but remembering the Spurs years.
Player development is wild sometimes. Okay, top end of this segment now. Zach Edey, 184.
The Boilermaker. Hoopstock says the Grizzlies might have been reaching a bit. Rookie stats are called mediocre but solid, like 10 and 10.
Decent efficiency, 1.3 blocks.
Mm.
And his size lets JJJ play the four more. So is that production kind of what you'd expect, or should a guy that dominant in college be higher already?
The college to pro jump is huge, especially for traditional bigs. Solid start, provides size. Maybe the ranking is just cautious. It's still early. Questions remain about how his game fully translates.
Fair enough. Luke Kennard, 183. Known shooter, obviously, 43% from three.
Excellent shooter. But Hoopstock mentions inconsistency. High-scoring games sometimes, but not always there. Good handle, too, though.
Can he just find that consistency? That seems to be the key for bench scorers like him.
Exactly. Reliability is huge. If he smooths out the bumps, he's a much more valuable piece.
Jeremy Sochan, 182. Backup power forward after the point guard experiment.
Yeah, thank goodness, maybe. Strong rebounder, good in transition, high motor. But the shooting, whew,
Still bad. 30% from three. Still the one-handed free throws.
seems like it. And in today's NBA, that's a massive hole for a forward. Does the versatility and energy make up for the complete lack of spacing?
Tough sell.
Yeah,
The ranking probably reflects that shooting limitation pretty heavily.
gotta think so. Okay, 181, Dorian Finney-Smith. Valuable bench guy for the Lakers after the trade.
Defense, leadership, reliable three-point shot hitting 38% with LA. Just solid all around.
Yeah, described as well-rounded but not elite at any one thing. Does that 181 ranking feel right for that kind of steady, dependable contributor?
Seems pretty fair, honestly.
Hmm.
He's not flashy, but he does the job, provides toughness. Contenders need guys like that.
Agreed. Okay, 180, Ayodosunmu, Bulls. Versatility is the key word. Plays 1 through 4.
Defensive hustle, too, compared to Caruso and Smart. That's high praise.
It is. But offensively, inconsistent scoring, only 32% from 3 despite playing big minutes. That's the drawback.
So, defense is great, but is it enough to overcome those offensive limitations for a higher ranking?
It's that balance again. Hoopstock seems to think the offense holds him back from climbing higher despite the D.
Modest Buzelis, another bull, at 179. Intriguing profile. 6'10" forward guard skills.
Yeah, attacking the rim, handling the ball, and apparently underrated shooting, 35.8% from 3 for a rookie who isn't just a specialist.
Sounds like he could be a potential steal ranked this low, maybe. Lots of potential there.
Definitely sounds like it. If that versatility and shooting continue to develop, 179 could look low pretty quickly.
Spencer Dinwiddie, 178. Back in the Mavs starting lineup due to injuries, getting buckets.
Yep, scoring, attacking, handling, doing his thing.
Yeah.
But the defense is called average, maybe slipping a bit with age.
So is 178 more about the opportunity he's getting right now, or his actual current ability level?
Probably a bit of both. He's producing because of the minutes, but he's always been a capable scorer. The defensive concerns likely cap his ranking here.
Clint Capella, 177, called his worst season, got benched on a bad Hawks team. Ouch.
Yeah, rough year for him apparently. But still a lob threat with Trae Young, still rebounds, still protects the rim. Those skills haven't vanished.
So, a fair assessment of a vet having a down year, acknowledging the slump but also the remaining skills.
Seems like it. Not peak Capella, but still brings enough rebounding and rim running to land here.
Keon Ellis, Kings, 176. All about the defense here, right?
Huge defensive impact. On-ball menace, 1.5 steals per game. That's like 11th in the league. Finishing games over Monk sometimes because of the D.
Wow. But the offense is limited. Inconsistent scoring, even though the three ball is decent at 43%.
Yeah, seems like the offense hasn't quite caught up to that elite defense. Is the D alone enough to push him higher?
It got him to 176, which is pretty high for a defense-first guy with offensive question marks. Speaks volumes about how good that defense must be.
It really does. All right, last one for this batch. 175, Najee Marshall, Mavericks.
Emerge as a reliable reserve, improving offensively, handle attacking even though the three isn't falling, 27%.
But brings tough defense too. That versatility and improved offensive game, despite the shooting woes, lands him at the top of this 25-player group.
Makes sense. A guy who contributes in multiple ways, showing growth.
So that's the first chunk, 200 down to 175 from Hoopstock. Quite a mix, huh? Vets, rookies, specialists.
Definitely. What stands out to you overall from this initial group?
Well, like we said, the specialization is clear. Guys valued for one or two key things: shooting, defense, playmaking. And it shows the depth, right? These are still top 200 NBA players, most bringing at least one real NBA skill.
Yeah, it gives you a feel for how teams fill out their rosters. It seems like Hoopstock, at least in this range, values reliable skills like shooting and defense, but they're also really looking at current role and production.
For sure. It'll be interesting to see if those trends hold as we get higher up the list in future releases.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a final thought for everyone listening. Based just on these first 25 players, numbers 175 to 200, what's your first impression of the league's overall strength and depth for next season?
Yeah, think about who isn't on this list yet. What does the composition of this bottom tier tell you about where the perceived talent might be concentrated? Something to chew on until the next part of the rankings drops.